Howdy, YouTube pards. Jack Spade here with you with High Noon Leatherworks. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on the Western wallet, and in the last episode I said we'd be stitching today. I kind of jumped the gun a little bit and I haven't dyed anything, and I want to dye it before I stitch it. So let's come on in and let's get dyeing today.
Dyeing ain't much of a living, boy.
Alright, so today we're going to get out our old dyeing cardboard here. It's all stained up. And we're going to go ahead and dye our pieces for our wallet. I'll take one of my plastic cups, grab a couple of gloves, and I'm going to make this a two-tone wallet. So I'm going to add something a little different to it. I'll give you a sneak preview here. Cowhide, with the hair on, I'm going to add that to the front of it with some decorative hair on cowhide, but we'll do that in a later video. Today we need to make sure we get this properly dyed the colors that I want it. And I'm going to go with a medium brown dye and a saddle tan. And they'll contrast each other really nice. Plus, this lighter weight leather that I have that I'm using for the card holders in the wallet is already a brownish color. So I want to make sure that I don't try to dye that anything lighter than that. So I'm going to use that medium brown on the card holders, the saddle tan on the bill holders, the medium brown on the inside of the actual wallet, and then the saddle tan on the outside. So I think I'll start with the medium brown and move these pieces out of the way so I don't accidentally get overzealous and dye them the wrong color. So I'll take my medium brown, shake it up really good, get me a rag, try to keep the mess to a minimum. Pour that into my plastic cup. And I always like to clean those off the best I can. And then take my dauber, put it in the dye. And I'll probably end up getting two different shades of this medium brown just because this one leather that I used for the card holders already had a brown tint to it, so you can see the difference already. So make sure I get the edges. Sounds like somebody's mowing my yard. Dye this one and wipe the excess off. I think this is going to turn out to be beautiful with the two-tone, especially when we add that cowhide, hair on cowhide on the front. And I'm not concerned about doing the backs of these. because you're not going to see it at all. So I'll do the fronts, and I'll compare those to the back of the actual wallet here in a second. When we get it dyed. And if you remember, we're going to have the bill holders are going to be stitched onto this, so a lot of it will be covered up anyway, but I want to get a nice dye job on it before I stitch anything. It'd be almost impossible to do a good job. After everything was already stitched together. And I'm going to have to add some more dye to my cup. This rough side of this leather, the unfinished side, really soaks up the dye. I think I'll do the edges with the saddle tan, and that'll make it a little easier to, instead of using the darker color, I don't want to bleed any of that darker color over to my other side, to the front. So I'll put my rag, disposable rag, in my cup. It'll soak up all the excess dye. I'll throw that in the trash. Give me another rag, a nice clean rag. And you can see this may lighten up a little bit as it dries, but you can see the difference in the two tones of the leather. And some of that could be because it was already pre-dyed on the small pieces, or it could be just the finishes on the leather. Can also change that. So we'll get a new cup. Put my medium brown lid on good and tight. Put it aside. And the saddle tan, this one is about empty. I've got a new one here, but I want to make sure I don't have any other saddle tans open. And I don't. So I'll empty that bottle, and then I won't open the other one unless I absolutely have to, and it wouldn't surprise me if I have to. I'm thinking I should probably do both sides of these bill holders. I'm going to do the edge. first. And once I get the edge done, I'm going to go ahead and dispose of this dauber and then get me another dauber to start the front, because I'm sure I'm contaminating this dauber with this brown dye that's on the back. So I don't want to turn around and put that on the front of my piece. So I'll set that dauber aside, grab another one. And I'm kind of putting that on in circular motions, and then come back and wipe the excess off in an up and down motion. What that does is it kind of puts a neat pattern in it, and you can keep dyeing this until it becomes a solid dye color, but it's neat to play around with it and get some different patterns in your leather just by how you wipe the dye on and off. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. You can see how I've got these neat patterns developing, and all that is from swirling on the dye with my dauber and then wiping the excess off in a vertical. And you could do horizontal, whatever. You could do it at an angle if you wanted, but it just gives you a neat look. So it's not just a solid, boring piece of leather. You have some lighter spots, darker spots, some curves, and it looks neat. So I'll set that over to the side. And I'll do the same to the bill holders. They're small enough I can go ahead and do the whole thing on one side. And you can see this is thinner leather, probably different type of the way they tanned it, and I still kind of get the antique-y look and finish on there when I do it like that. But look at the difference in the colors. It's amazing the difference. This is almost medium brown compared to the saddle tan on that side. So it's going to be almost like a three tritone look because of the difference in the leathers, which is fine. It'll look fine. And I think it's going to look great with that hair on cowhide. And I'll wipe the excess off even on that side. And then I'll do my edges. I'm gonna have to open up my other saddle tan. Yeah, I like to keep my bottles as clean as possible. So I'll wipe that off. Go ahead and apply my dye, and then wipe the excess off like I did on the other one. I'll put a little more on this end. And that's the thing, this dye is usually pretty good about staying true to color from one bottle to the next. And this is the same type of leather, but you can see the difference. So that is something I'm gonna have to deal with, it looks like. And probably what I'll do is I'll put a little more dye in here. It really soaked it up. I'll put a little more dye in there in my container, and I'll go over both of them. It may make it just a little bit darker, but that's okay. It's not going to soak it up near as much the second time as it did the first time. And as they dry again, they will lighten up somewhat. This one's going to be more of a solid color to it. There is some of the antique-y finish down here. Do my edges. And then do the back side. Alright, now we'll set those aside, let all those pieces dry, then we'll be ready to come back and do some stitching on it. Alright, now I can say next time you come back, in the next episode, we'll be doing some stitching. So sorry about that mix up, I got ahead of myself there and didn't have the pieces dyed. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and catch me next time, next Thursday, when I put up the sewing video. So like I always say, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
Dying ain't much of a living, boy.